For centuries, scholars, theologians, and pilgrims have searched for traces of a forgotten town, Bethsaida. It was said to be the hometown of Peter, Andrew, and Philip, disciples who walked with Christ. Yet, as generations passed, its location was swallowed by time. Its memory faded into devotional legends and scriptural echoes. That is, until now. Beneath layers of silence, mud, and ancient Galilean soil, archaeologists have uncovered what may be the most significant biblical find in recent memory: the remains of a Byzantine church near the Sea of Galilee, and within it, a mosaic inscription that could rewrite how we understand apostolic authority. But this isn't just about bricks and stones. It's about what the early church believed, where they remembered it, and why it matters now more than ever. The mosaic that spoke after 1.500 years. In 2016, a team of archaeologists led by Professor Mordecai Aviam and Dr. Stephen Notley began excavating at El Arij, a low-lying site near the Sea of Galilee, closer to the shoreline than previous candidates for ancient Bethsaida. Within weeks, their spades touched history. Layer by layer, the earth gave up its secrets: first-century Roman coins, tools, ceramics, and then the unmistakable remains of a Byzantine church. And in the very heart of its mosaic floor, preserved as if shielded by providence itself, was an inscription written in Greek, not vague, not symbolic, but direct, theological, and unmistakably bold. The whole work of paving the diaconicon with mosaic was done by the zeal of Constantine, servant of Christ, for the chief of the apostles and holder of the keys of the heavenly spheres. Saint Peter, intercede for him and his children. It does not call Peter merely a disciple. It names him chief of the apostles, the very phrase that ignited centuries of theological debate, war, reform, and schism. And it places the keys, those sacred symbols of authority from Matthew 16:19, into Peter's hands. Inscribed in stone, not in Rome, but in Galilee, where Peter fished and followed the town that disappeared and returned. Bethsaida, house of the fishermen, was mentioned repeatedly in the Gospels. It was the site of miracles, Mark 8:22. The feeding of thousands, Luke 9:10 Den 17. And the place where Jesus walked on water nearby. But it was also one of only 3 towns Jesus openly rebuked. Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the miracles done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago. Matthew 11:21. After that, it vanished from Scripture. Then from maps. Its precise location became a ghost, argued about but never settled. Until now. What sets El Arij apart from earlier proposed sites is not just its proximity to water, fitting for a fishing village, but the clear archaeological evidence of 1st-century Roman occupation and, crucially, the later Byzantine church built atop it. A church that wasn't guessed into existence. A church remembered. Why this discovery matters. Anyone can find ruins, but to find ruins that align with gospel geography, confirm historical testimony, and illuminate early Christian theology, that is rare. Willibald, an 8th-century Bavarian bishop, once claimed to have visited a church in Bethsaida dedicated to Peter and Andrew. His writings were long dismissed as legend. But now, everything matches. The location by the water, the church structure, even the dedication. This is no longer hearsay. This is historical memory, confirmed in stone. And what that stone says is significant. Peter, not merely as an apostle, but as the one who held the keys to the kingdom. Not an invention of medieval Rome, not a later theological addition, but a belief held centuries before the Great Schism, by Christians in the East. This is theological continuity, not fabricated, but remembered, honored, and inscribed by those who lived far closer in time and place to Peter himself. Keys, authority, and apostolic identity. Critics of Petrine primacy often cite Matthew 18:18, where Jesus gives all apostles the authority to bind and loose. And it's true, they all had authority. But only one was given the keys. In ancient culture, keys were symbols of exclusive authority, of stewardship. Isaiah 22:22 speaks of a key given to Eliakim, a royal steward. What he opens no one can shut, and what he shuts no one can open. Jesus echoes this symbolism in Matthew 16:19 when he speaks to Peter. And now, so do the Christians of the Byzantine period in Galilee, writing it into the very floor of their worship. The term used, chief of the apostles, is not casual. It implies leadership. It suggests divine appointment, and it predates the later papal claims of Rome, anchoring Petrine theology not in politics but in apostolic tradition. A message carved in stone. This isn't just a discovery. It's a challenge, not to divide us, but to awaken us, whether one is Catholic, Orthodox, or Protestant. This mosaic confronts us with the reality that the earliest Christians, living in the very land where the apostles walked, saw Peter as more than just one among many. They saw him as the shepherd Christ entrusted with keys. No, it does not prove everything, but it proves something: that the memory of Peter's primacy was strong, early, and widespread, long before councils argued it and theologians defined it. Final reflection. In the quiet earth of Galilee, between fishing nets and forgotten prayer, a voice has spoken again. Not from a pulpit, but from stone. A voice that says, "We remembered." In a world where traditions are often questioned, and faith seems fragile, this discovery reminds us that sacred memory can outlast empires, storms, and even silence. So we must ask ourselves, not just what this mosaic says, but what we're willing to hear. Because this isn't just archaeology. It's the rediscovery of a truth the early church never forgot. And now, neither should we.